Hello and all, welcome to the Galaxy Man Show. I am here with this incredible actor known by the name of David. So I'm about to add David into the live now and have a chat with David about his incredible work in the acting industry. So here is David. Please make David welcome. And yeah, here's David.
Hey Jacob,
Hello, David. How's it going?
good. How about you?
Yeah, really good, thanks. I just want to say first up, thank you so much for taking the time to join my show. It is such an incredible pleasure having you on the show for tonight. So, to people that don't know who you are, if you can give like a bit of backstory about yourself, and then we'll dive right into the questions.
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Um, yeah, I am a Toronto-based actor. I began acting right before the pandemic started, actually, right around 2019. I don't have an acting background. That's really not how I got started, but I think it was just there was always a curiosity to try acting or dabble in acting. I think I've been in some form of a performance area. I was in choir growing up, church choir, school choir, sang all the way up until I started university. So I was sort of exposed to performing in that sense, but I was always a little too timid or a little too shy to try acting. And I think eventually I got to a point where just time allowed me to explore certain things, just living closer to work and having just more disposable time. And so that is really when that sort of thought kind of came in where I thought maybe I should give this a try acting. And I did. And it was just one of those things where you come alive, you feel like you've never felt before. It felt incredible and I loved it. And I think that was really the beginning of things, and that's where I kind of got started. And so yeah, that's really it in a nutshell. I was actually born in Sri Lanka. I migrated to Canada with my family at the age of 10. So I would say more tuned with sort of the Canadian sensibility since growing up here and kind of going through my formative years here. But yeah, in a nutshell, that's who I am. That's how I got started in this.
So we'll dive right into the questions now, David. So for my very first question, so you've been in short films and TV series. So for the short film I'm going to mention first up is Copeless. Like, what was it like? What was this whole experience like? Just being on set, the atmosphere, and just what was it like getting to be in this short film called Copeless?
Yeah, Copeless was a great experience, and it was actually the second time I had the pleasure of working with Jessica and Verinder. These are two gentlemen that I got to meet in the project Me Her. That was the original, the first project that I got to meet and collaborate with them. And so this was initially I was having conversations with Jazz about this project, and it was meant to be almost sort of a pilot pitch for a series, which sort of morphed into the story. And then it kind of went through a different sort of recalibration where it became a short film. It actually got selected as part of this talent fund pitch for the International Film Festival of South Asia in Toronto. And so, that's kind of how it came to be. And because I had already worked with Jazz, he was happy to bring me back and have me collaborate in this project. And it was a great story. It's a beautifully poignant story. I think it tackles a lot of difficult issues across the board, but also specifically in the South Asian community and sort of family trauma and things like that. And the experience itself was incredible. I got to act alongside some brilliant actors. Pranita Killa, who's actually doing great in Canada, Jazz Danda, and Gagandeep Singh. So these are all my castmates. Um, and yeah, it was definitely an opportunity for me to stretch myself a bit and really try different things. I've been lucky with Jazz. He's always had me play different roles, different characters. This one, he somehow managed to age me down to some degree of believability to 18, 19, 20, maybe around that range. Or even I mean, again, depending on how you look at it. But I got to wear a wig. I got to completely transform into a different character, and sort of see what that would look like in terms of bringing a character like that to life, right? So approach it more as one would if they were a teenager going through these kinds of things, and kind of challenges. So that was really an interesting exercise for me as somebody kind of really getting into this industry, and getting into the craft. And being on set was fantastic, because we actually went to location and stayed there for the 2 days we were shooting. So that was a lot of fun. Just obviously in between everything, you're able to chat and just socialize with your castmates. And then every night when you finish shooting, you're able to really relax and just hang out and get to know people. And yeah, I think it was an experience-wise a great experience for me. Definitely a challenge. Definitely learned a lot, and I think that's the other thing is being an actor. As I'm getting more and more, immersed in this world, there's sort of the acting craft of it, which is how to do scenes and all that, and then there's the logistics of being on set, how to manage your time, how to manage your energy. There's a lot of nuances that I think I really was able to learn a lot from by acting opposite to people like Praneeth and Gagandeep, and a talented cast, the cast of people who were able to sort of just educate me on things that they've had experience in, right? So it was a very cool experience, and I had a lot of fun.
So, on to my very next question. So, you have also been featured in a series called An Unexpected Killer. What was like this whole set environment like for you, and just like the whole experience like for you for An Unexpected Killer?
Yeah, that was a fun project. It was something that I actually managed to self-submit on Mandy. You might know Mandy. It's a very popular site in UK. And I got booked, and it was a cool show, because it's basically a crime retelling show. So it's very popular in different markets, where the actual police officers and or family members of a certain crime are there being interviewed, and in the back, what potentially happened is being reenacted by actors. So I was one of the co villains or co-conspirators to this one particular person's murder, which I mean, it's always fun to play a bad guy, I think. So yeah, that was a really cool experience, because it wasn't so much about being line specific and being able to hit certain things. It was much more about conveying the emotion, the intention, the scene, because your audio is really just sort of covered over, with the actual retelling. And so it was just an opportunity to play freely, which was it's always fun when you don't have to worry about lines as much, where you can just be present and in the moment. If you have somebody to play along with, that's even better. And so that was a great opportunity. And at some point in that particular episode, I got to be in a jumpsuit, an orange jumpsuit, and and be a little jail scene where I was getting sort of interviewed or investigated by some police. That was fun. I think I have a photo of it somewhere. So yeah, that was a cool show. Definitely, that was one of the first times I'd done sort of a TV series, episodic. And it's again not traditional in that it's not a narrative TV show. It was a dramatic retelling, crime reenactment show. So yeah, it was a fun experience. Definitely a little different from the typical shows or acting that most people do.
So, on to my very next question. So, you have also been in a short film called Me Her. What was like this whole experience like for you, like getting to be on set for Me Her, and just like the whole atmosphere on this set?
Yeah, me, her. I think it'll always be close to my heart, because it was one of the first few short films that I got to act in. And again, this was Jazz. Purely, we ran into each other through Mandy. I applied on Mandy. He was happy enough with my attempt that he gave me the opportunity to be part of the project. I got to act opposite to my co-star Neha, who's brilliant. This was sort of right around the pandemic time too. This was peak 2020, just as things were getting into full swing. And so we did a lot of rehearsals on Zoom, and it's hard to find a sort of feel chemistry and comfort with co-stars when you're doing it through Zoom, but this actually kind of came a little more naturally because I think Naya was just such an awesome person to play opposite to. So that was really cool, and we had sort of done the legwork. And when we had to shoot, it was cold. I mean, again, Canada, Toronto, right around October. Depending on the year, sometimes it's sort of warm, sometimes it's freezing. So it was a pretty cold time, and we were doing a lot of outside shots. We had a lot of sort of playground and swing set shots in the film. So that was a a little tricky to battle the elements because you wait long enough, your mouth wants to start chattering. So it's almost like you want to keep shooting or keep talking because the moment you stop, you start really feeling the cold. But yeah, it was an awesome opportunity just to play that particular role because again, it was really more of a romantic comedy if you want to summarize it in a genre. But the story was just about unrequited love. But I also had the element of being able to play somebody who was a Sikh South Asian Punjabi gentleman. I just happened to have grown up my beard at that point for the pandemic because I thought, I'm not going to work. I can do what I want and just try on a different look. And at that point, as after I sort of secured the role, Jazz kind of proposed the idea is like, would you be comfortable wearing a turban? I said, I mean, you're Sikh, you're giving me permission to do that. Of course. I mean, as an actor, I think it's always fun to be able to try and live in different people's lives and kind of different characters and different experiences, right? So I was very happy about it, and it turned out great. And I think one of the greatest compliments I get is, including my friends, some people were genuinely convinced that I was a Sikh Canadian actor, which is great because I'm not, but I guess I looked convincing enough that it was believable. So that's always something that I take warmly. It's a feel good moment for me when I hear that. But yeah, the experience was fantastic. I vividly remember finishing that movie and just missing being around that entire team of people because it was just so much fun. Yeah, just in between takes and stuff where we went back to holding and we're hanging around having snacks and just chatting and hanging out. And yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite experiences for sure.
So, on to my very next question. So, you have also been in a short film called Sleepwalker, and you
Yeah.
play the role of Simon in Sleepwalker. What was this whole experience like for you and the whole atmosphere on Sleepwalker?
Yeah, Sleepwalker was an interesting project because it was, and I kind of took it to mind to try and do my best to get into the character's mindset because this character has basically been somebody who's kind of gone through life very recklessly, and then he finally goes one step too far and takes a life accidentally, and then he's sort of having to deal with that and live with that. So for me, I actually approached it. I mean, not to get crazy with it, but I physically felt like I needed to make an effort, and I kind of leaned down for the role and did a few things just to kind of get into the mindset of somebody who's sort of stressed or agitated. And getting to work with Nap Studios and Ryan Kessler and that team, they were great. They were really just being very professional on how they wanted to do things and getting the project done in a certain way and having very good conversations on what we were trying to get out of the character and what we were trying to sort of illustrate in this particular story. So yeah, I actually found leading up to the role or leading up to the shoot and afterwards that this mentality, this character kind of stays with you. And I think I don't know, and it might depend with actor to actor, but when you're trying to play something and you kind of get into the headspace of that person, you tend to, sit with some of these, bad feelings, because you're trying to really internalize and really feel present and connected to it. And this was one of those particular roles where it messed with me a little bit because I think I was trying very hard to be as authentic as I can and be as genuine, in trying to portray this person and feel what this person would feel going through a thing like this, right? So yeah, that was definitely an interesting role. And yeah, the shoot was great. We had quite a lot of scenes, and I acted opposite a few different people. Some physicality. There was sort of a little bit of a fight scene, so we had to kind of have to choreo that, which was great. Um, and we also had sort of, I guess, some intimacy scenes, which I'm very happy that the co-star that I did it with, she actually had some intimacy coordination experience on different projects, so she was able to guide me through some things which I hadn't really had experience with. But yeah, that was also another project that I think really made me stretch a lot in terms of getting into a different headspace, getting into a different sort of mindset in becoming a different character. So yeah, it was a cool experience.
So, on to my very next question. So, what made you decide as a person and especially as an actor to get into the acting industry in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, again, as I was kind of saying earlier, acting was definitely not the path that I thought I was going to end up in. I mean, even 5, 6 years back, 3, 4 years back, I think if anybody had sat me down and said, "Oh, you're going to be acting," I would have laughed because it was not something that I expected of myself or even thought I would, be attempting. I mean, I think I've been raised in a film environment in that I've watched movies all my life. Some of my fondest memories as a kid was watching movies and TV shows. And there are certain things that I will always, hold near and dear to my heart. So I guess it had a big influence on me. And even my family, my brother, he acted and did theater when he was growing up, but I was, and again, maybe it's because I migrated to Canada at sort of an interesting age where I wasn't able to sort of settle in. My focus was mainly about acclimating and sort of making friends and, kind of getting involved in sort of social life at that age. So maybe I didn't attempt drama and things like that most kids would at that age. Um, so yeah, it was a surprise to me to discover that this was something that I wanted to try. But I think the good thing is, depending on whatever point you're in, being able to try a class or exposing yourself to this and trying anything really, right? Like somebody might want to get into music or painting or whatever. I think for me, it was just one of those things where I thought, let me try and we'll see what happens. And yeah, I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. For me, it was like doing an extreme sport because it terrified me so much. And I kind of like that because it was sort of being able to confront myself and sort of, face whatever fear or anxiety I may have about it. And then once doing that, sort of getting to see the other side of being able to do this and feeling how it feels when you're able to perform a scene well, or just be in a scene with people, or do a good monologue. So it was an interesting discovery for myself. Again, it was definitely not planned, but I think just looking back, it was just the life went the way it went to get me where I am now, right? Because I don't think if I had tried to do this when I was younger, I would have been ready. I don't know if it kind of had to happen naturally. So, yeah, again, very random way of how I got here, but it kind of worked that way.
So, on to my very next question. So, what does acting and performing like mean to you? Like, especially as a person and as an actor, like, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, I think for me, I tend to carry myself probably a little more reserved. I mean, I'm a fun person. Especially with friends. I'm able to let loose. But typically in a natural way, I'm very sort of reserved. I'm more of a listener than a talker. You would consider maybe an introvert in most sense. But acting, I think for me, really allowed me to break out of that shell in a lot of ways, explore just different characters, different realities, and I think acting really lets me be free. I feel more free when I'm acting, right? And I think it's also helped me be more social, get more, out of my comfort zone, just in my personal life. But I think for me, that's really what it is. It's being able to, be free and sort of do something that's kind of exhilarating. Because now I think this is just me, but I'm always nervous. I think there's always a point of nervousness and anxiety, but it's sort of that excitement, right? And so it's being able to feel that and confront that and sort of walk straight into that resistance and meeting it is what I think I find great about sort of acting and being an actor. And I think on top of it all is just being able to meet and collaborate with great people. Whether it's writers, directors, producers, actors, co-stars, but so many people. I mean, you learn so much about how many people are involved in making it, a project come together. Cinematographers, lighting, grip, gaffing, sound. And I mean, it really is impossible to be able to do anything without any one piece. They're all so important. And I think just being able to meet all these people and collaborate with them and become friends with them, I think, across the board, whether it's just acting, even beyond acting, all the jobs that I've done in my life, I think that's been always one of the best takeaways. So yeah, I think enjoying being sort of in this sort of exhilarating environment and performing, which I think is a great pleasure and a lot of fun, and then really being able to collaborate with people and having fun. That's kind of really for me what it is. I feel like being an actor and what I enjoy the most.
So on to my very next question. So what has been your like most favorite set to work on and why?
Yeah, and again, I think it might be a tie between Me, Her, and Copeless. Me, Her, simply because it was one of my earliest projects, and I got to really, embody this different character physically in look and things like that, and just getting to hang out with my castmates. And then Copeless also because um, being able to stay on location overnight, just hanging out, right? So by the end of the day, it was like you're just hanging out with your friends, really just catching up and relaxing and kind of getting geared up for the next day, and just getting to know your co-stars and your colleagues and your collaborators. Um, that was a lot of fun. Building friendships and cementing friendships. So I would say it's a tie. It's Me, Her, and Copeless for me would be so far the most fondest and most fun sets and projects to be involved in.
So on to my very next question. So if you could work with any top three actors in the acting industry, who would they be and why?
Yeah, this is a really, really hard question because I mean, like, it's like going to a buffet and saying pick three,
Yeah.
three dishes. I've been for a long time a huge fan of Tom Hardy.
Okay.
Uh, Again, brilliant actor, seems like a wonderful human being. I think being able to act with him, that would be like a dream. That would be fantastic. Um, yeah, and I think with him specifically, is he's just such a brilliant actor, so capable, so diverse in terms of range and emotion and versatility. Uh, he just seems like a really fun, powerful guy to work with and work opposite. Um, Another one would be, and I mean, this might even be easier just to summarize and say like the cast of Peaky Blinders. There's so many awesome, people on that show. So like somebody like Killian Murphy as well, brilliant actor. To sort of act with and act opposite. Um, and maybe somebody from comedy would be somebody even like Jonah Hill. I think he's brilliant. He's fantastic. It's hilarious. I was just looking at some audition tapes of actors that are on YouTube. You can find these, and I was looking at a few different people, and his audition tape for Superbad is on YouTube, and
Okay.
it's great because it's just he's just a natural. You know, there's a comfortability in a sort of a presence to him when he acts, in comedies. Um, and so, yeah, I feel like that would be a great experience to be able to act alongside somebody like him and act with and learn from somebody like him. But again, there's so many, there's so many, and so many actresses, right? Jessica Chastain, Anne Hathaway. It's incredibly hard to try and pick just three, but maybe those are three that I would love the opportunity to act with and act alongside and learn from. But yeah, that list will go on for days. So many people.
So on to my very next question. So what is your all-time favorite TV or movie franchise currently that you've been watching and why?
So what I've watched the most recently that I really enjoyed was I think it's sort of a continuation series. It might be a mini series, but it's called The Devil's Hour. It's on Prime Video with Peter Capaldi. I forget the actress's name. She was brilliant. It was a really cool show because it almost seemed like a horror, but it's more of a sort of sci-fi mind suspense. It was a really cool show. Definitely enjoyed watching it. All time, I mean, there's a couple of classics. From a comedy perspective, I grew up with Boy Meets World. I don't know if you know that show. I'm a big fan of that. Friends, I mean, that's universal. Many
Yes,
people.
friend.
But from a drama perspective, and I already kind of showed my hand. I'm a big Peaky Blinders fan. Fantastic, like that is a fantastic show. Fantastic acting. It's a tragedy. Helen McCrory passed away. She was brilliant. All the female actors, all the male actors, they were incredible. Awesome story. And I've watched Dance of the Dragons. I'm forgetting the name of the show, but House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones. But I'm still I mean it's a great show. But I still love the original Game of Thrones. I know the last season that's a whole other conversation, but Game of Thrones is shows like that. I think always hold my attention. It's just some brilliant shows. But yeah, as far as what I've watched most recently in The Devil's Hour, that would be one that I would suggest, I guess, if anybody wants to watch.
I actually love how
Yeah,
you said the Devil's Hour, because I actually met Peter Capaldi in person in Florida a
yeah,
couple of years back, which he's an incredible person and actor. And he actually back a couple of years back he played the Doctor in Doctor Who, which was a brilliant performance as the Doctor. And he's just such an incredible actor too. Like Peter Capaldi, oh my God, bless him so much.
yeah,
But yeah, Devil's Hour, I have to get onto that. So thank you so much for recommending that too, by the way.
yeah. Oh, that's awesome that you got to meet him.
So on to my very next question. So what advice would you give to upcoming actors that want to get into acting? And yeah, what advice would you give them?
I mean, I think it really depends on what age or where they're at in life. Somebody like myself who kind of is in the middle of things and decides, you know what, I want to try this out. I would definitely say taking any kind of acting class. If there's anything close by, give that a go. Just getting experience, getting your feet wet, and just getting education, right? It's like anything else. I think you need to learn what it is and how to do it. You might have a natural knack for it, but there are still just certain technical things that you need to learn. So taking class is definitely a great thing. And then really being able to apply yourself on things like Mandy. There's ways now where you can submit yourself and try and get your feet wet and get exposure. There's a lot of student films. It's a lot of projects that if you're able to give your time as opposed to saying I need to get paid for this. First thing is give your time and gain experience, right? Gain exposure. And that for me, that's really what worked. And even though I didn't have any professional material, I was able to sort of stitch together my class footage and make my own reel and just to whatever degree market myself with what little material I had, but just kind of applying myself and being a little more persistent and doing that. So that would be really something I would say for people who are looking to get started. But I mean, if you're younger, sky's the limit, right? I mean, if you have the support of your family and you're able to try, go to acting school in terms of like there's a lot of theater programs and a whole host of programs that you can explore. And then also I think at that point is getting to a level of, once you feel ready to really give this some time, is working towards getting an agent, right? And it's just the way our industry works, where you can self-submit, but at a certain point you do need somebody to sort of facilitate, getting you submitted to bigger and more sort of deep projects or quality projects. And so getting an agent, really, that those would be sort of some of the first few steps. But yeah, that's really it. And again, it just really does depend on where you're at and what your sort of circumstance is. Some people from the age of 3, 4 know they wanted to be actors, and that's a completely different path, right? Because they're taking steps towards that right from the get-go. Whereas somebody like myself found very later in life, that this is something that I want to try. So it's just kind of working within your constraints or your parameters and saying what's available to me, what's accessible to me, and then just giving it a shot and seeing how it goes. And it's really nothing to lose in that sense, right? I mean, definitely don't sacrifice your job or anything like that, but see what you can do within the time that's available to you to explore certain things. And yeah, taking classes I think would be one of the best ways to just get started. Yeah.
So on to my very next question. So if you could have any dream role in TV or film, like what would your like dream role be and why?
Yeah, I think for TV is probably a role in a show like Peaky Blinders. That would be like a dream, or even a show like C, the Apple TV show, which is crazy because I didn't even realize the writer is the same, Stephen Knight of C, of Peaky Blinders, even another great film, Eastern Promises. I don't know if you've seen that, with Viggo Mortensen. He wrote for that as well. So Stephen Knight projects, that would be great. Mike Flanagan. I don't know if you've been keeping up with a lot of the horror, The Haunting of Hill House.
Yes.
One of the best horror series I've ever seen. Incredible. I'd love to, be on a show like that, something that really you get to play. And film, I mean, I think film, it's a little hard to say. I think traditionally growing up, anything like a project like Godfather or Goodfellas, or those traditional gangster type movies are, they seem like a lot of fun. But even, I mean, watching all the new movies now, like The Banshees of Inisherin, I don't know if you had a chance to watch that, with Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson. It was beautiful, right? Being able to be part of a sort of a touching, poignant story like that would be great. But also, I'd love to do things like mocap. I don't know if you've seen The Christmas Carol. I talk about this movie to everyone because it's one of my favorites. It's Jim Carrey's a mocap Christmas Carol. Robert Zemeckis directed it. Beautiful. And Beowulf and like projects like that, and even being on video games. Like I'm not a big gamer, but I love Assassin's Creed. That's sort of one of my most favorite games. And to maybe even do mocap acting in a video game like Assassin's Creed, that would be fantastic. That would be awesome, right? Because it's sort of a combination of your genuine acting being combined into sort of animated reality, which is so cool. So yeah, I mean, again, a little bit of everything, same as being able to act with people. I think it's just being able to try different things and be part of different genres. That would be really cool.
Well, for my very next question, if now David, looking back over your career in the industry, if now David could talk to younger David, what would your advice be to younger David?
Yeah, so I mean, this is a bit of a tricky question for me because if I could go back and tell younger David that, listen, you're gonna get interested in acting and you're gonna want to do this, then I would definitely say start taking classes, do community theater, get involved. Really, that's, I think, and I don't know, I feel like it's common for most people. You really only learn by doing, right? So you can watch, which is great, and I watch genuinely because I like, but I'm also now learning to watch more from a critical perspective of how does this scene look, how many takes are there, what are some of the inconsistencies, are there continuity errors, all these things that you would actually not notice before. Once you start acting, you start noticing. So being able to be more critical of what you're watching. But yeah, really, I would tell my younger self is to get involved, is to apply myself, get involved in school theater. I should have done theater in high school. That would have been great because I think I would have really been able to get a flavor for what this might be and what I might like about it. Um, but yeah, I think that's really it because I don't know. You just never know. The trajectory I took because I had no real exposure to it, and then I got into it. I kind of worked out well for me. I feel like so. I never know what would have happened if this had come to me sooner. Whether I would have just gotten too scared or gotten too intimidated, and it would have turned me off to it. Could have been. I don't know. But yeah, in that specific scenario where if I knew going back, I could tell my younger self you are gonna get interested in acting, then I would say yes. Get involved. Do as much as you can, play as much as you can, and try different things, make mistakes, get comfortable being uncomfortable in a lot of ways, right? That's a lot of what it is to get better at this, I feel like, is just continuing to refine yourself.
So on to my very next question. So, like, what are the positive and negative into the whole acting industry, and how to get through those like negative moments as an actor?
Yeah, I mean, positive. I think it's a lot of the standard things in terms of collaborating with wonderful people, being able to tell beautiful stories, having fun in general, right? I think ultimately that's a big part of what I would feel like storytelling is. Um, but I mean, there's the side of fame. Fame's weird. I mean, I'm nowhere close to that, but some might consider that a positive. I think it's great to be able to build a body of work where now you're sought after and people want to work with you. I think that's fantastic. That's ideally what every working actor wants and dreams of. But I think the fame side is a little weird, and that's it depends on person to person and how what they want out of it and how they want to navigate. So yeah, a lot of the positives that I think most actors and performers would identify with. The negatives also I think very much the same in that it's a very unpredictable industry. Your day to days are random. Your week is random. It's very hard to build a routine around it, and I'm somebody who does well with the routine because of just my traditional life and having had 9 to 5. So that's a challenge, and I think you kind of have to face it and deal with it in your own way. It's still applying somewhat of a routine, but that routine needs to be flexible or has to have flexibility built into it. So in a manner, it's like organized chaos, right? You need to do certain things, but you might not be able to do them in the same order or in the same day. If an audition comes up, you have to be able to prep for it. So those are things where it's the unpredictability. I think I find hard for sure. I think probably a lot of people do. So that's navigating that is just basically being able to build in whatever routine you can with a level of flexibility that gives you the ability to shift, right? That's one thing. Um, and I think the other thing is the quiet times, right? Where you're trying to hear back. You do 10 auditions, you might get a call back for 2, you might book 1, you might not book any, it might be a big gap between auditions. And so it is tricky that to manage your sort of mind and emotions in that way and not get frustrated and get angry. But I think that's also where you need to focus on other things, building yourself up as a person and being able to do things, to improve yourself as an actor and a person, so that you're able to work towards, the time in between auditions and in between projects.
So for my very last question, David, so like what's next for you? Like any upcoming projects that you like to announce on the show?
Yeah, nothing at the moment as far as upcoming projects. This year really is a bit of a focus year for me because for the past few years, and again, I haven't been doing this terribly long, but I've been lucky and blessed to say that I've had opportunities to collaborate with great people and get exposure to great projects. So this year, I'm actually focusing sort of primarily with most of my time on acting. So I'm not uh, kind of basically trying to put some money aside and use that to give myself the time to focus on acting. So auditioning and trying to really be more available to take on projects as they come. I'll hopefully have chances to collaborate with a few different people throughout the year. I'm applying to things on my own as well, just to, continue, participating. But also we're still taking Copeless through the festival circuit. So that's something. We took it to a few festivals last year. I think we're going to a festival in Oregon. I'm still deciding if I want to go because trying to be a little more cost effective. And also we're likely going to be taking it to Chicago later this year as well, to another film festival. And another film that I was part of, it's actually being taken to a festival. I was actually with my writer director and colleagues yesterday. They're taking it to a film festival in Louisiana right now. So yeah, really just continuing to sort of promote projects that I've been in. And again, that's something that I find I'm not the best salesman. I need to get better at selling myself. Uh, but yeah, just really getting exposure, collaborating, networking with people, and making myself sort of available to be part of projects that I can, right, be part of. So that's really the focus for 2023. And I think it'll be an interesting year. I think just having that time to focus and really be able to connect with people is going to make a difference. And I know there's other projects that my friends are doing that I'm going to be involved in helping out in different ways. We're actually shooting a film where I'm more or less on the production side and helping out behind the camera. So just really being involved, right? Getting involved, and yeah, that's the focus for 2023.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much, David, for making an appearance on my show. It has been such an incredible pleasure having you on. Do you have like any last final thoughts or anything that you would like to share to people on the show?
Well, I mean, again, well, let me say thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure. I really appreciate it. I think this is always fun. This is a part of me. I think I'd love to talk and just being able to ask and have a dialogue about what you're doing and how you're doing it. That's always fun. But yeah, I mean, to whoever might watch this, please feel free to reach out to me on Instagram if you'd like. If you'd like to collaborate, if you'd like to just chat even and just network, definitely open to do that. And yeah, I mean, to anybody else watching that might want to get into acting as well, for sure, reach out if you have any questions, and give it a shot. You have nothing to lose. It's a lot of fun. And if nothing else, you learn from it. I think for me, I've taken a lot from acting into my personal life, and it sort of feeds, each other. And so much of being, I think, a good actor is being able to just keep improving as a person in your skill set, in your abilities, in your perspectives, and being able to take all that and use it when you need it in your projects as an actor, right? So um, yeah, if anybody is sort of keen on just having a chat and networking, always down. So yeah, again, thank you so much for having me.